The Cherokee Nation recently passed the largest budget in its history, nearly $3 billion, 40% of that coming from federal COVID relief funds. I spoke with the Cherokee Nation's principal chief, Chuck Hoskin Junior, about the tribe's priorities going forward.
Give me 2 or 3 big ticket priorities that are in this budget for the Cherokee Nation.
The lion's share of it actually goes to healthcare, which is because it's a high priority and because healthcare is expensive to deliver in this country, even for an organization like us that I think does it very efficiently. So this budget provides a lot of funding for us to increase what we do in healthcare, not only with existing programs, but we're going to build a new hospital, and we're also going to replace our oldest health clinic out in one of the communities. When we do that, we will have a health system in terms of brick and mortar that the oldest clinic will be maybe about a decade old or more. It'll represent hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars over the last decade. Housing is another issue that we're concerned about. We still have too many of our elders that are living in conditions that are just not what they ought to be living in. And that includes a lot of fluent Cherokee speakers, most of whom are over the age of 70. And sometimes that means things, Rich, that you and I take for granted, which is a roof over our head and something, in terms of food every month that meets our needs. We have to do more on that. So this budget helps us on those areas. We're going to do more in the area of mental health. It's one of the biggest gaps we have in the Cherokee Nation. So we're going to address drug addiction like we've never addressed it before. And we're going to address other behavioral health issues that have really been laid bare by the pandemic.
About 40% of this budget is derived from federal COVID relief funds. So you described how some of that money is being spent. Does that money have to be spent by a certain time? And what happens when that funding goes away?
That money is there for 3 years, and when it goes away, it's gone. So a lot of what you see us dedicating those funds to are to one-time spendings. But again, using these one-time dollars is investing in infrastructure like we've never done before. So you're going to see a lot more road and bridge projects, a lot of broadband projects across the Cherokee Nation. We've got our work cut out for us just on criminal justice. We have to do it right. We have to be effective. It's going to take a lot of those dollars. Building the best criminal justice system, not just in Indian country, but in all of the country. That takes a significant amount of funds. Most of that we have to lean on our own resources, but we have to do it. And we have to do it to the tune of over $30 million in any given year.
Chief, most people think of casinos in terms of generating revenue for the tribes. Where else is the Cherokee Nation investing and generating revenue? And what other areas and businesses?
Casinos are the most obvious, but if you get a little bit below the surface on what we do in our businesses, you see a really robust and diverse business portfolio. A lot of it is centered on federal contracting. You go to 14 countries around the world and see the same thing. We're involved in things like security and IT, even healthcare management we're involved in, some construction management we've been involved in the past. We are a federal contractor that provides services to the United States Department of Health and Human Services for taking care of kids and families who have been displaced by the migration. The crisis that's emerging with migration across the border, and how do we as a country, the United States, deal with these folks migrating in, and how do we best care for them in a way that's humane and responsible? And I think Cherokee Nation knows a thing or two about compassion for people who are displaced at different times in history.
Chief, you're responsible for overseeing the largest budget in the history of the Cherokee Nation. Is that an exciting challenge or maybe perhaps a little daunting?
My father, who served on the Cherokee Council not too long, it doesn't seem that long ago to me, but 1995, he was elected to the council. $3 billion wasn't even something that would have been in the realm of possibility. The opportunity that I have now as chief of the Cherokee Nation with this great team working with our council is really incredible. And I feel very fortunate to be here. I really think we can make positive generational change for the Cherokee people with these dollars. And we're going to work every day to do it.
Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr., thank you so much for your time. A lot of great information there. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.